Kia ora, good evening. We're starting one more session of Coding Night, New Zealand. Um, it's been a while since like last time we had like our session back in December. This weekend has been a crazy weekend in Auckland. A lot of disruption with flooding, and um, I hope that you're well and safe as you're probably joining our session tonight. But my heart is with those affected by the flooding here in Auckland. And tonight, we're going to explore some upgrade strategies and tooling for .NET 7. So things that are new to .NET platform, and with that, seeing how you can upgrade applications created in .NET framework and how we can set a path for upgrading to .NET 7. So let me share my screen here as I have this in here. Okay, all right. Just a little bit of info. So my name is Marcel Medina. I'm a software developer and Azure specialist. Also a playground enthusiast and coder. Um, I'm a co-founder of playgokids.com. Have a look. Currently working as a practice lead at Datacom, and my blog is tech.playgokids.com. Before we start, in general, like I invite the community just to share and just to come forward. And if you're like a developer that has had like a lot of experience or has explored something that's really interesting that you feel that uh, could be shared, right? I invite you, and we're open for speakers. We're basically a community of developers, and we love coding. We follow best practices on software development languages and technologies. So the idea of the user group is just to enable developers with practical knowledge to launch, right, excel and launch their careers. If you're a junior to a lead dev, so you're gonna have like get some value out of this user group. For tonight, our agenda. We're gonna see like steps on how you can upgrade your old applications to .NET 7. We're gonna set like we're gonna explore some strategies, right? So you are gonna see from where you are how you could smoothly upgrade your applications and the tooling available. So we're gonna see a couple of tools available in the market that will help you to do some assessments, analysis, and help you with like the upgrade from .NET Framework to .NET 7. And I'm aiming like the goal. It's mainly on transitioning .NET Framework to .NET 7, but there are some tools in here that allow you to upgrade from .NET Core, for example, from uh, old versions of .NET Core 3.1 or 5 to the recent .NET 7. So, but I would like to bring to you that on the .NET 7, the release schedules, because Microsoft has been put like a lot of efforts in releasing now every single year new updates, right? Starting with like December 2019, where we had like .NET Core 3.1. You can see that's LTS, long-term support. So, and then like with that, every single year we're gonna have um, well, interchanging long-term support to standard, long-term, and so on. So you can see that there was a rebranding from .NET Core to .NET 5. Then it came up .NET 6, where we are now with long-term support. And then, well, now we came up with .NET 7, standard term support, long-term support for .NET 8 next year, and 2024 .NET 9. It's good for you to know that, well, for the long-term support, you basically have 3 years of patches, right? And so you have like a support for whatever the solutions you're creating on that particular stack, starting with, well, the support for .NET 3 Core 3.1 just ended, and now recently in November, right? And but now .NET 6 just continues. If you like start with .NET 5, you are on standard term support, and for that one you have patches of 18 months. So if you are still on .NET Framework, you have like reasons just to move to .NET as soon as you can. All right, it is like the link. I'd like to bring that up just to bring you some awareness of where things are at. With that, let's see the steps to upgrade your .NET applications, right? So let's bring like those some building blocks. So we know like what we need to do. If you have like a .NET framework, you want to upgrade, what are you gonna do? You're gonna prepare, right? So you're gonna do like some sort of analysis on on the application. You're gonna see like we're gonna review dependencies. We're gonna see if libraries are how the project is connected, and you're gonna make a choice which .NET platform you're gonna pick. You're gonna go with long-term support, standard. Do you want to leverage .NET 7 with the latest release? Right? And I think those are considerations you need to bring into consideration. Are you going to upgrade to .NET Framework 4.8? Why is that? Because not sure if you're aware, but depending on how you're going to transition on the strategies I'm going to show next. But if you want to explore .NET Standard, because you are .NET Framework, you want to migrate .NET Core, but you have lots of libraries. One way of doing that is bringing converting .NET Framework libraries onto .NET Standard. But if you are trying to leverage .NET Standard 2, you can only do it with .NET 4.6.1. That has been support has been ended for that one. Now it would be .NET Framework 4.6.2. But even that, you're gonna have like end of support. I think probably like this year. But that's something you need to consider because if you are on .NET 4.5, you're not gonna be able to target .NET Standard 2. You need to upgrade even like to .NET more recent .NET Framework. How are we gonna order projects in for upgrades? Are you gonna do it like depend on the strategy? Are you gonna do some libraries? Are you going to do an in-place upgrade? Are you going to do an incremental upgrade? We're gonna explore possibilities in here. And then when after your preparation, you're gonna go and get to do an upgrade. We're gonna start. We're gonna start like a CS project files, right? Um, if you're .NET Framework, CS project has changed a lot on how things are done now. They're much simpler, but they're still you need to upgrade those. What about the NuGet references, package references? Are they still compatible? Probably not. It depends. And so you need like to do those the NuGet package upgrades. And are we gonna do in place, incremental, or there's even like another one side by side, which is basically a cop and then an in place upgrade. So you have like options. After that, I think like the bulk, well, I would say to start, you start with projects more high level, and then you get to a granular level, to the nitty gritty of the upgrades, where you're going to be changing configuration files. Are you doing Xamarin? Are you doing web development? Are you doing Windows development? So what sort of extension files you have? Um, Static contents. Do you need to transition like images from different places? Do you have like any other uh, HTML files, any sort of static content that you need to transition to a different place, or those cross-cutting concerns like authentication? Do you use Azure authentication, Azure B2C, Auth0, or Okta? Uh, are they compatible to the new platform you're choosing? Those are the challenges. And then we're gonna do pretty much a regression testing of everything that you have migrated. We're gonna test like for this runtime differences. Are they gonna run? Like it's gonna be like just a straightforward upgrade, or is the solution even going to compile? Well, from experience, I can say that with tooling, they're not they help, but they are not perfect. So um, probably like when you do like the upgrades, you need like to do a lot of work just to get things to work, right? Are you going to do like just on-prem release, or are you going to do clouds? We're going to leverage Azure. Where are you going to release that for testing? So those are considerations, and this is all manual, right? So that's the part of the preparation where you do like an assessment, and then you get to do the upgrades until like you do the testing. Those are the steps. If you're like going to do it, uh, you can do it manually, but you can use tooling. So that's why we're here. In terms of strategies, right? So that's an exciting thing here. Uh, well, let's assume you have like an application in here with many libraries, and some libraries have dependencies on each other, right? So we're gonna do an in-place upgrades. So how you're gonna approach that, right? Because if you're doing like in place, you need to have a way of transitioning those libraries, right? So what we could do, I mentioned about .NET Standard. So on library 5, that's a leaf library, right? A leaf node or library. So you could just start with those libraries, the more low levels where you don't have dependencies, because you know that things are not going to break. We're not going to have dependencies on other libraries, are not going to depend on this one. So that's where like you could start, and just changing. .NET Standard is a good candidate for you just to gradually upgrade your applications. With that, so you basically have an option of upgrading to .NET Standard, or even do a multi-target uh, upgrades. Well, what's multi-target? So with .NET project, project files, you have the option of targeting multiple platforms. You could tag, for example, not recommended, although like I think like it's more work for you to manage in terms of library, even like package referencing. But you could have .NET Framework and .NET Standard in the same library, right? In the same, I mean, same file. So you could tag targets both. But then it comes down to how you're gonna manage NuGet packages. Do you have references? Probably. So you end up with like conditionals where, okay, you have like a range where you're targeting .NET Framework, and then another range on your file that are targeting .NET Standard. So we have this option. So you could do like an in-place upgrade like that. I don't. I think like in the end I can put like a link just to that shows how multi-target works, but I don't have it here at the moment. But it's also like an option. This is the fastest path to full migration, yeah, because you're doing it in place and you're making sure that things are working, right? And with that, we're preventing duplicate code. You're not creating something new. You're just making sure that you're replacing things that are existing and make sure that they work. Right? If things fail, you fail forwards, which means that you don't have like a rollback option in here. So you're just making sure that things are gonna work, and if failures happen, you need to fix. Right? And that's the way how you do fixes in this case. We have another option, side by side. What does it mean? Like, so for this one, app one, what we're gonna do is basically a copy and an in-place upgrade. So yeah, we have a copy of basically copy like the whole project, have like a side project, and then we start doing in-place upgrades. Right? For example, with this one, we're replacing uh, in a different copy of like your solution. That's an option. It's a safe approach, right? What happens in here, right? So you're fully copying your whole project to a different location. You're That's a safest path to migration. Not the fastest, but the safest. And you pretty much like preventing rollback issues, right? Because if you have implemented something, now they are no longer working, you could do some rollback, and because you have like the previous source codes. So we basically have something in parallel happening, right? In here we have a different strategy where we're gradually incrementing uh, the upgrades. In here I brought a web app. So historically we could not do any sort of web app upgrades incrementally. It was always a challenge with ESP.NET. So you basically what .NET 7 now offers you is the option of doing that. And what happens is that, well, you can have the old .NET framework, ESP.NET framework, with the new ESP.NET Core uh, working together. And you're still doing like the an incremental approach for the library 5, for example. We're just creating live as is, but we create another version with .NET Standard. So how does that work? Because we're going to be running both applications together. And that's the idea. That's how things are going to work. And that's possible now with .NET 7. So on this one, we have new projects created. So the current remains, but we have something new transitioning, right? So we're incrementing the changes. Well, we're gradually moving the code. Let's say like this, a particular project that you're working now has the budget to do a particular upgrade or implementation that's going to target a specific feature that you need to upgrade. So you can just do that, grab that library and create like a subversion of that with .NET Standard and start like gradually moving the implementation in your classes basically. Well, it allows you building and deploying while you're migrating. So it's not like a big bang. You're just doing things separately, more organized. With that, well, there's a specific pattern. Not sure if you heard about it, but the strangler fig pattern that enables the incremental upgrade approach. It's an interesting one because what happens is that this pattern allows you to have something on top of it, which is basically, well, let's see, we have like different phases on migration, but we have a facade. So it's called like this strangler facade. And the facade basically controls where things go. Right? So if you have still legacy codes, they're gonna go to that legacy block. But as you're gradually moving things over, you're gonna have like a more modern libraries uh, created. And depending on what you have implemented, the facade is going to be smart enough to balance the requests. Uh, when I say balance, it's just like having routes that say, okay, that's still legacy, that's new. This is like within the ASP.NET core context. Then later, you still have like the facades, but now you have like less legacy. And now you have like more content migrated until you get to migration complete where everything is modern and you no longer have the facades, right? If you are interested, you can check like this pattern that's available in here. And now it comes down to the tooling, and we're gonna get hands-on porting assistant for .NET. So this one is a AWS tool. Um, Very nice, with a really nice UI that enables you to do the migration, right, and the upgrades of .NET applications. But basically, what you have is this porting assistant that is going to be helping you with the migration from .NET Framework to .NET Core. It has, as part of this tooling, it does like some scanning just to verify references, NuGet packages in the application. It shows you an assessment or a report where you can visualize on the UI or you can just export it, right? So for reporting purposes. And then enables you like to do the porting. Uh, I have like a blog post about that. But I like the UI. I like the investment that AWS put on it. I think like that's something that all of the tools I'm bringing here is just like one complements the other. Like both have great support. But let's explore this one first. I'm gonna jump to my screen here, and we're gonna create like a new solution here. New, let's put like a new project so you guys can see it. Let me bring my whole screen in here, full screen, so you can see better. All right. So that's I'm gonna pick .NET Framework. I'm gonna create, let's put old web app, but I'm targeting here. I didn't put it like zoom in, uh, but I have here .NET Framework 4.7.2. That's what I have in here, but it's just .NET Framework. Let me create that. Uh, well, can be a web API. Let's just wait for that to provision, and then we can start doing the porting. Well, nothing new about that. I think like on this one, don't know if I have like zoom in here. No, I don't. But well, it's just like a .NET Framework app. One of the things I want to bring in here is the porting, porting assistant. So you have two ways of installing this. You can install as a separate tool, or you can embed to Visual Studio. I did that. I just decided to install it separately because, well, I felt like that this one I didn't want like just to um, just install like unnecessary things on my machine. But so working isolation, it works really well for me. So you can see like, wow, it's a UI that you have. So you have the extension option here. And I have done like some test cases like here before, but you can start like by just assessing your solution. The way how I'm gonna do it is that, okay, that's the solution. I'm gonna open, uh, file already exists. Why it's complaining? I think because I had it. Well, that's a new one. Is that because I have done like a previous example? Probably. Yeah, I think because I did this one before and now it's complaining. Can I do a reassessment? Maybe. Yes, it is doing it. It's because I did this one before with the same name. So, and now what it does, well, it basically it's just in progress, but it's just assessing the solution I just created. It's gonna bring like some interesting findings because, well, we're trying to upgrade this one. It's gonna take your latest .NET version. In here in my machine, I have version 7. Let me just open like my terminal here. Just bring that. Okay, there's this command .NET the dash list SDKs. So I have 3.1, 6, and 7. What's going to happen is that's going to target the version 7 I have in here. Um, if that goes well, you must be able to build your project. I think it's complaining because of that. So let's build this one. Build succeeded. It failed the build. Don't know. Let me see it one more time. Reassess. It's basically analyze the binaries because I didn't build. It just complained about it. It should be fast. Maybe why it's doing. Let's see like a Node web app. I had it. And it's an interesting UI because, well, we have like a progress bar of like the number of projects that were assessed. Um, it brings you like a view of like the NuGet packages that are incompatible, APIs incompatible, the libraries that are being used by those NuGet packages, and well, just bringing here like some the file path and the dependencies, right? The projects I had it within that solution, even like the target framework, what was, well, on those two projects, I had those two versions, .NET Framework 4.7.2, .NET 7. In here, like, well, I think I replayed, or I remember I did like some reassessment after .NET 7, but incompatible packages, 0 of 2. Incompatible APIs, it complained a bit. I think like I was trying to upgrade manually from one to the other. But you can see in here, well, it's going to be a comprehensive list. And it showed in here that things were ported. Project references. Well, I think I had like only 2. I've seen it's a graphical view that's really clever. Depending on how complex your solutions are, you're going to see nested dependencies. And wow, it's really nice to have like a view UI representation of those dependencies. NuGet packages, what was compatible, what was not, right? Like the whole thing here, like .NET framework, a lot of things was incompatible. Right? And you have like a list in here, like what what was okay, what was not, even like the source files that were referencing the library. Right? So, well, it's very comprehensive in terms of APIs, the libraries, well, the classes implemented. Well, there are lots in here. Just going to the last one. But yeah, even like in the end, you could like export this assessment. I think this one comprehensive UI and really good like assist way of porting the applications. I think this one, let me just go back. I think now it did the assessments because it's compiled, right? So for that one, which is let's say out of the box, right? This was the assessment. He found like things that weren't compatible. We have the option here of porting the solution, and we can do that. We're gonna do it and see what happens, right? So that's the old version, .NET 4.7.2. It's gonna do like a migration, an upgrade to .NET 7 standard term. For the packages that are okay to upgrade, you can pick like the versions. Even like in this case they're deprecated, but it gives you an option that okay, that's still compatible. You can use it. Like this one, for example, Newton JSON, and we can do the porting. And let's see. I think like for this one, I didn't close, but yeah, things were just ported, modified. Let's reload that. Well, it's doing like the assessment. It's going to do the changes. I'm keeping like Visual Studio open, right? So I just want to see what's gonna happen here, like by the end. After this one, we're gonna jump to the .NET uh, upgrade tool, which is basically you have console available for you. Not sure how long this is gonna take. My test took like few seconds, but in the end, we should have like things in here changing. Things are changing. So you can see there are, well, right now it's this one, it's targeting .NET 7. Things are changing, but you can see, do not remove this while porting. There's a lot of things that the tool does behind the scenes just to move all of those dependencies, right? And it's interesting. Like so, it has finished, and you can see the logs in here. I think this one is gonna launch text file, if I'm not wrong. Let's see, at some stage. In the meantime, well, things were migrated. So this you can see that looks, oh, looks, this is .NET Core. We have like a startup that looks more like, well, that's .NET 7. It's just like rather than using minimal APIs, it's using the previous way. Uh, but things are there. Is it compiling? Let's build. Well, probably not. So that's the thing, right? So the tool helps you doing assessments, porting at some degree, but when it comes down to the errors, then you need to adjust to see what it's doing, but you need to do it manually. I don't know like about the logs in here. The other time I tried, there was like just a text file, but you could export this onto an Excel as well. But yeah, that's the tooling that I want like to share. Let's just go back to the presentation because that's what we got from AWS. One more thing in here. All right, coming back to that, just a minute. I want to visualize what I'm doing here. Go back to this. Okay, and let's continue on the presentation. .NET Upgrade Assistant. This one, it's Microsoft has been doing a lot of investments because it doesn't only do the upgrades of .NET Framework to .NET 7, but allows you to upgrade .NET Core from previous versions to .NET 7. So it's comprehensive, and you have support to different types of applications, really. Here it's I'm saying that, well, it helps us to incrementally upgrade to .NET Framework, but it's doing more than that now. And we have coverage for, well, ESP.NET MVC, Windows Forms, WPF, console libraries, the Universal Windows Platform Apps, UWP, in Xamarin, now helping to migrate to .NET MAUI. So there's been a lot of efforts, like from Microsoft, in assisting us in creating this tool that currently supports C Sharp and Visual Basic projects. One of the things I initially started exploring this one on console, but now we have like a way of doing visual upgrade or an upgrade with visual assistance. I'm gonna show next that just came up a couple of days ago. But yeah, it's very recent. But we can use like the .NET 2 install command to install the upgrade assistant. And with that, well, after the tool is installed, you can analyze any project. And reporting that's generated, it takes this serif extension. I decided to use Visual Studio Code to visualize the details because you have the option to exporting like to HTML, but if you want like to have like a better understanding of the logs using this extension of Visual Studio Code, it's really handy. So, and after you do the analysis, you upgrade. That's the command. I have like also another article about that. And let's jump to the upgrades. So for this one, let's close that, close solution. Let me just come with the full screen so you guys can see what's going on. I'm gonna create another project, .NET Framework, uh, World Web App 2. Cannot zoom in, but .NET Framework 4.7.2. Let me create that. Web API, yeah, it's okay. So let's create that. Okay, that was created. So what we need to do in here is to upgrade the solution. How we're gonna do that? So we're going to get in there. Old. Okay, so for this one, well, you're gonna see that I have like a lot of stuff in here. Upgrades. I have assistants. This one, I'm gonna get to the path of where verify everything. I have like this one, not to do the upgrades, but to do the analysis, right? So we can then run this to analyze the, the application. Let's do that. So because it's a console, right? So it's going to take, I'm not saying like which platform to use, but it's going to take the most recent version you have. In my case, it's showing that .NET 7. So it's doing some analysis. And well, it's gonna check like the package references and what you have in there that's compatible or that's it's not compatible. It showed here that, well, it generated this analysis reports .serif. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna open Visual Studio Code and let me bring this file, open file. I'm just like on another window here, but if I bring that to you so you can see it. So this is the file, analysis report. Probably the window is not that great, like, but if I bring this screen here, you can see the report, right? I have like other things happening here. Let me just Control B. So that's a report. It's a JSON file, kind of a JSON. Yeah, that's a JSON. Oops, not this. This. Let me close a lot of stuff in here I have that doesn't belong to here at all. This one. So we have like a JSON file that, well, contains a lot of details. But when you bring the tool, that's when you can see the projects, uh, well, what's complaining. So bring like a lot of warnings. And as I click through, it's going to show me, well, the references that need to be deleted, where the locations, like the old web app, too. Uh, but yeah, it's comprehensive. You have like a lots of to analyze, and there are different rules they have. The tool has that applies, right? So it's an interesting way of visualizing what's wrong, like what needs consideration in your application, right? But very good way of identifying um, what you need to do, right, to make things right. So after that, let's do an upgrade. I had like this one before. Uh, you can see here, okay, I type upgrade. But in this case in here, I don't want to leverage .NET 7. Well, maybe you just got a request that, well, it's only the long-term support that you're allowed to have in your organization. Because I have .NET 6 in here installed, the tool is going to verify, okay, I have .NET 7, but I'm not specifying .NET 7, because .NET 7 would be STS, standard term support. I want to use long-term support. It's going to fall back to .NET 6, right? And that gives you a way of verifying, okay, depending on policies of your organization, you can just tag the specific targets in here. You have also the option of going interactively, where things are gonna be, you're gonna be prompted for about questions about like the dependencies, the packages, if you want to upgrade or not. What I'm doing here is just like a non-interactive way. Just, well, go with it. Just do the whole upgrades and don't ask me if I approve or not, because it's all approved and I want to see what happens. So I'm gonna go with that. You're gonna see at some stage in here that's, well, that's .NET 7 that we have to start. But in here, at some stage, you're gonna see that's taking .NET 6 in here, recommending .NET 6. And then it's gonna take that version and do the upgrades. And at the same time that it's running the analysis, it is applying those upgrades and taking notes of like the logs of things that are happening. So, and also like making changes. So added templates, program CS, startup CS, app setting, JSON. So things that belong to ASP.NET Core application. Well, upgrading Razor files, run analyzers, and running some diagnostics settings or specified by the tool. And we're almost like in the end. Okay, verifying what was this? Yeah, it's running like some fixes still. I think like with that we're almost there. Finalize upgrades and generate an upgrade report. Well, we can visualize that. Let's come and open file. So for this one now, Where's the upgrades? Upgrade reports. Well, there are lots of things in here. I think like it helps you as a developer just to do some assessments, right? But it's not the sort of report you're gonna share with the business. That's not the purpose of it. It's just to give you some insights of things that were modified. It's comprehensive, right? So it's something that you can take in consideration when you're upgrading solutions. I think with that, um, you have like a good understanding of what you can do with the tool. I want also jump to the new feature of .NET 7, where we can do incremental upgrades with ASP.NET Core. Let me come to the application here. Well, here this one it did the upgrades, so now it's ASP.NET Core. Let me just close that one. Close solution. I'm going to create a new one. Well, still .NET Framework. Old Web App 3. Well, .NET Framework 4.7.2. Let me remove me from the screen here. I'm gonna put like the whole thing in here. Well, let's go with Web API as is, and let's create a project. So what we're gonna do in here is that transition from by using the facade, right? Uh, Before we jump to that, let me just show like a slide in here. So because that's important to bring that up for you guys. The incremental migration. So it takes, not sure if you heard about YARP. Yeah, it's another reverse proxy. And that one, it's a Microsoft solution for internal applications. And they created a reverse proxy. And what .NET 7 does is to take like a project and a template that leverages that when we're doing the upgrade. So basically what it does is that, right? So we have an ASP.NET Core, an ASP.NET Framework, the legacy. YARP is going to validate the route and the requests that are coming. If it's something that's very specific, it's only targeting something that belongs to the ASP.NET Framework, the requests are going to go there. If they are not, then it's going to fall back to the new implementation, right? Because things were already migrated. And so when you look like the pattern, the strangler pattern, the facades is basically YARP. So YARP is doing that validation of where things should go. Well, together with ESP.NET Core, there are like libraries, NuGet packages that does that sort of uh, validation for us. I just checked 4 days ago, things were not like, well, we had this experimental extension, but now it's no longer the case. Rather than Microsoft project migrations, now there's an extension called .NET Upgrade Assistant. So that's a new, things are becoming altogether, right? So that's now part of .NET Upgrade Assistant. It's still very limited, but you can just well, check the article. I have like the details for that. But that's one is now becoming part of the upgrade assistant, which is, well, it makes sense. And with that, bringing that sort of context for you, let's do the upgrades. So, okay, let me just max the screen here so you can see the whole screen. All right, so what we have in here is the old web app. What I'm gonna do is that you can see that we have some controllers in here and those values in here. Let's put, okay, so this is net 4.7.2, and that's .NET Framework. Let's put like just some values in here, .NET Framework. What I want to do is just to display this information on the UI, right? So just zoom in a little bit, but let's change, let's bring this information on the UI, and then you can visualize that when we launch the application. Okay, let's put that uh, color red. All right, so we're good to go. Let's play this one. So what you're gonna see is that we're gonna get the application launching and displaying those values from the API. Because what happens is that, okay, this is a web API, but this is a view, and we have JavaScript retrieving information. So you can see in here that's bringing those values in here. I didn't go like onto the details, but this is a jQuery. So basically, we have this ID DOM list, which is uh, a list, and by querying API values, for each value we append to the DOM list. So that's why we can see the ESP.NET values in here. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna upgrade now. Let me stop that. And how do we do that? Well, I'm right clicking this and we have this upgrade in here. This is because of the extension tool. But what it gives me is just like this UI within Visual Studio that does this side-by-side incremental upgrade. Well, how can we do it? Well, we need to create a new project, but it does that for you, right? Let's bring like this on .NET 7, and it's just renaming this for me. Let's go and go next. What's gonna do? Upgrade and well, set some actions behind the scenes for us. Initialize the project with YARP and other libraries. System web adapter. That's a that's an interesting one. On .NET Framework, system web was the core of how things used to work. On .NET, on ASP.NET Core, things have changed, right? So it's a new implementation. As you can see here, so my solution, we got like a new application, which is a .NET Core. By looking here, you can see it's .NET 7. We have this sort of called System Web Adapter. So that's a translation for ASP.NET Framework System Web, but in a way that works with ASP.NET Core. We can see YARP in here. We can see the program. Well, we have this, it's adding to the service a reverse proxy loading from the config file. And what's this config file? This was the one, reverse proxy. So it's adding that. And you can see here down here, well, it's making use of system web adapters in using the reverse proxy. Well, right now I can see that there was a new application, but what about the content? Well, nothing was really migrated. Like, well, it was just a new application created. What can we do? So, well, we have the option of upgrading the controller or upgrading the class or upgrade a view. Let's upgrade the controller. We're interested in doing upgrade of the values controller. So I can see here, just I can zoom in here, but it's showing me like old web app 3.controllers.values controller. Let's upgrade that. Showing me, okay, are you happy with the routes, classes? I think that's fine. So it's applying the upgrades. It's doing like some steps, but you can see what's doing and copying things, right? So it has finished basically. And now we have the controller in here, values controller. But wait, it did a copy basically. Well, What I want to do is that, okay, that's not the nets, it's .NET 7, right? It's not .NET framework. Let's say the core that was rebranded now to .NET 7. And what happens now if I play this solution? Well, let's see. So let's see, this one is gonna launch. It's coming here, my other window. Well, look at that. So we have .NET 7, .NET Core coming. So what's it doing? So what happens is that as we upgraded the values controller, well, we still have the old one. The old one is here, right? But the requests are no longer going through this one on .NET Framework. They're going through values controller available on the .NET, on the ASP.NET Core, and displaying that. But you can see that, well, we still have the other parts of the site coming, like, and this is all .NET Framework. So we have the reverse proxy deciding where things go. And because we have a new implementation of the values controller, uh, the reverse proxy does a pretty good job in just redirecting the implementation to the new version. So we're basically superseding the old implementation. And now what you can do is basically decommission what was there, and because things were transitioned, right? So pretty good way of doing things. One of the things I'd like to do it is just to share the link for the extension, because I don't think I have done that uh, before. Let me just see if I can grab that for you. I have the link in here on the website, but if you want to go straight to that, well, let me just come open this and bring to you here, right? So that's the new, um I'm gonna put like on the chat. That's something to explore, but you can see that's still in preview and things upgrading. So this is from, well, 26, 4 days ago. Very new, and seems like very promising. I'm really like excited for that one. And that was like a good way of upgrading solutions and considerations. And next time that you come up with upgrades, because even with from .NET Core, you can upgrade to the latest on .NET 7. I think like with that, we are just getting like to the end of our session. We should be having more sessions coming. Um, and as as always, like bring this one to you guys just to come up and just to send me a message. If you have like some content, just ping me and then we can align a session where you can present your content. I'd like to thank you for just watching this session. It's going to be recorded and available on YouTube. And I'll see you next. We should have like some good sessions coming up this year. Just excited for what comes next. And well, have a good evening and see you next time. Cheers.